Hey guys, welcome to the Scarred Thumb Podcast. We got a lot of stuff to go over today, so we can get right into it. But first off, good morning, Deborah. Good morning, X-Runner. Susano Ala Richard. I don't know if I can pronounce the whole thing. It's been a while. Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you back, catching the live stream. Hope you're enjoying it. But let's get right into it. We got a lot of stuff to cover. It's just one of those days. When I don't do a stream, I always build up a ton of stuff, and I can just tell. I can just tell by the amount of tabs I have open that there's going to be a lot of stuff. So this is one of the first things that it just came across my timeline, and I wanted to talk about it. So this is Japan again. This struggle that they're having, especially in the more mainstream AAA space, where they want to basically make games more Western. So this is from Stealth 40K here. Metaphor ReFantasio director Katsura Hashino says Atlas JRPGs must evolve and be more accessible. It's crazy because when I think Atlas, I think Disgaea, which is not, which has always sort of been the quintessential over leveling, spending way too much time, no life RPG. When I think about it, more so than just latching on to specific genre of game, we're going back to how we can evolve our JRPG and what it looks like. For us, it's coming to a turning point. We really want to take it to the next level in terms of how JRPGs are. With these changing times, we do feel like the need to update our format and create games that would be more widely playable, not just within the JRPG realm, but something that would be easier, more accessible for a wider audience. And that's what everyone always jumps in on, the wider audience. We're hoping to update our format with that in mind. And then this is a response by Dream Borum here. Mind-boggling how FromSoft has shown for 15 years that challenging but rewarding experiences have mass appeal, and every big Japanese studio has been like, we need to do the exact opposite. Now Elden Ring Night Rain has more players than Monster Hunter Wilds Zero Awareness. And it's, I think, definitely right that the sort of mass appeal is one way to go, but it is ultimately not good. What game was in the intro? That's Gunvein by NG Dev. It's a really good shoot 'em up. I definitely recommend it. And it's funny, I was just watching the intro there. I'm like, man, I should play that game again. There's so many games to play. That's always the hardest part about it. It's like I'm playing Elden Ring, I'm gonna keep on playing it, and it's like, oh, but now I see Gunvein, man, I should play that some more. I haven't played that in a while. It's like, no, I need to stay with one game at a time, or I just never finish anything. FromSoft learned those lessons the hard way, though no one really knows that. It did take them a while to sort of find success, and funny enough that Demon Souls started really indie, not necessarily indie, but it's like a sleeper hit. Like Sega, not Sega, but Sony didn't want to make that, publish that. So I think they had to go to somebody else, and I think it was Bandai was, and Namco was the one that ended up being the publisher, and it just took off from there. Because I remember watching an interview with a former executive, Sony executive, that's like, yeah, Demon Souls is just one of those games that we thought we thought it was a little too hard, and then we didn't take it. Then oh, wait a second, this was really good. Miyazaki wasn't even there yet, and then Dark Souls, of course, just the Dark Souls series just took off, and really, it almost seems like it peaked with Elden Ring, with just being just an enormous success. But that's it's a game that, I mean, sure, it's open world, but it's distinctly distinctly Japanese. Even with like the Western aesthetics, with the knights and fantasy, it has a distinct sort of Japanese feel, and I thought that's always kind of cool about it, is that it's something familiar, but it's different. It's like it is the medieval culture, which you've seen like a million times in like Lord of the Rings and all those kind of different IPs. But when the Japanese take it, you have a little bit of a fresh spin on it. Going around here to give a history lesson was more the point that what happened with Dark Souls 2 is that almost bankrupted. I'm not too familiar with that, but I did play Dark Souls. Dark Souls is, ironically enough, the only Dark Souls game I played. But yeah, back to like FromSoft, but it is. I think it is. They're doing really well, and I'm actually really glad to see Monster Hunter Wilds losing out to Night Rain. Right now, the peak was, when I screenshot it, was 56.94, which, look at the all-time peak, 1,384,000. I mean, just a super, super successful launch. They sold so many copies. But you can see, like, in terms of like long-term audience, you look, the peak is not even close. They've a million more players starting out like as their all-time peak, so who knows how much more they sold in terms of overall copies. So financial success, I mean, maybe well, I don't know what the development cost for Night Rain is. I don't think it was humongous, but definitely the fact that they've have 90,000, it's that almost double for the 24-hour peak. I mean, close, with such a smaller initial audience, just shows how much staying power this has had. And of course, I know my brother was pointing out that Monster Hunter Wilds is going to have an update, but the user reviews have been terrible. It's just amazing, and I think that's mostly just really poor optimization on their front. Like the PC port just wasn't good for Monster Hunter Wilds. It is really bad. Oh yeah, it really was a dumpster fire. Exactly. And yeah, you just run out of things to do, and I don't think it's anywhere near as challenging. And even when it's challenging, it's not as compelling in its challenge as Night Raid is. Because I mean, because there's like no time pressure, because you don't have the varying levels of difficulty. Really, all they can do with Monster Hunter is make it so that the monsters like two-shot you, and like you can run into some serious issues at that point. But they're down a lot of like resource issues with resources management. It's you can craft so many potions. You eventually run out if you're not, don't kill them fast enough, but there is a lot of leeway there. So it's really just like getting one-shotted or two-shotted by a monster that is when that stuff can get really really dangerous. You actually get dangerous in of carding. Players overpowered, monsters can't get up. Yeah, I think as they keep adding more and more mechanics, and that's one of the issues with Monster Hunter, it's going to get harder and harder for them to balance to make it compelling. If you keep, you got a Sacred that can pick you up. You can get all these different things to help you. If they want to make like player expression more complicated, it often becomes kind of hard to make it. I've never played. I didn't fight the Final Fantasy boss though. It's I heard it was hard, but it. I don't know if it's also like kind of a gimmick fight or not. But this is apparently Monster Wild's buying price drops to 0.11 at Japanese used goods stores, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. This is an interesting post that I decided to bookmark. What I said: Capcom makes infinitely more fun games, far more memorable characters and stories and varied worlds than the right side. So this guy's saying Capcom's greater than Naughty Dog, Rockstar and FromSoft. I mean, I never really liked Naughty Dog games. Never been a huge Rockstar fan, but I mean, FromSoft. I think you really have to depend on what era you're comparing it. Obviously, Capcom's made some amazing games in the past. I don't know if current day Capcom's better than FromSoft. I would argue it's the opposite, just because I don't think they're making interesting games anymore. But that's me. That's just me. Like, as I could see with the Night Raid Monster Hunter Wilds comparison, I think they're just making games too easy. They're focusing in on a very casual audience, very like Western casual audience as their main, money makers, and kind of getting away from the harder game, more challenging games, stuff that's like more interesting. Anything else, but but fun is subjective. It kind of is, but I think at the same time, everything's subjective. Like any opinion's subjective. So I would make the case that FromSoft, I think, is making better games just overall. Ones that have a unique style, ones that try to challenge players. Meanwhile, Capcom's making stuff like, Monster Hunter Wilds, which unfortunately much easier, much less Japanese, unique in terms of the story. I hated Monster Hunter Wilds' story. I thought it was really weak. I thought the stuff they added in was just gimmicks. In terms of like the weather translating, you had zero gameplay relevance to it. So it just the direction, the future doesn't look good for Capcom. And even like Mega Man, that was one of their big announcements. I looking at the actual gameplay they showed, which wasn't a lot. I'm just like, who cares? Like indie devs making like Mega Man clones are doing infinitely more interesting stuff than anything I saw with Mega Man. So, like, what is it that they're gonna make that's really gonna be like, whoa, this is cool? Or is it just gonna be like a rehash? Like, hey, it's Mega Man, it's fun, it's the same game you played a million times. You have no interest in iterating what Mega Man is. We just want to sell you nostalgia. It's like, oh well, we'll see. But this was. Moving on to kind of more like dev talk, this was really interesting. This guy was like a big Metroid Prime defender, but he did an interview with one of the original Metroid Prime senior designers. So let's take a look at what this is, because I think they're saying some interesting stuff.
When I design games, the thing that's most important to me, the single most important thing, is design, right? Making sure that your design is nailed before you spend any revs going down dry holes, because scale creep is what you do when you panic. Right? So, this isn't coming together. We've got to come up with something. Story will never sell a game.
Right? I've always thought that, but it seems like the AAA industry, especially, is focusing more on story and graphics.
Yeah, because
at E3, like you won't even see gameplay; you'll see a cinematic.
Yeah, because they're marketing. Because what they're doing is they're making videos. This is about videos and putting it up on YouTube, and it's visual hype. Right. So, but look at the size of their teams, though. I mean, Call of Duty, they're spending what, $500 million to make one?
Yeah.
Some ridiculous amount of money, right? With
like how this is
framed. 1,000 developers on staff. What? And that's because and each of those developers does that tiny little thing. Like, what do? I make rocks. Or I make, and what's weird about it is early on in the Japanese production environment, they would have these big teams rocks. Where everyone would have a tiny little thing. Like I remember at the time, Sony had a guy whose job was making 4 pixel by 4 pixel texture maps.
And that's it.
60. That's what he did.
Yeah.
Like 100 hours a week.
Wow.
I know. I just set myself on fire. Thanks, I'll pass. If that's what game development is, I don't want it. But we've kind of on the high end of the AAA industry, that's where they've gone, right? And that's horrible for game developers, right?
That's really interesting. That one, it's so much is marketing, but if you don't have that initial design, and I think that's. I don't know if he talked about about it here, but did he? I thought,
right? Making sure that your design is nailed before you spend any revs going down dry holes, because scale creep is what you do when you
yeah, which are mentioned, like scale creep is what happens, which is what you see a lot in games where they just want to add in more and more stuff because they have to fix. You have to have mechanics to sort of like gloss over issues with the game where it's like, oh, this isn't fun. Like some people were talking about, I was hearing some people talk about like Doom the Dark Ages, where like the like sort of like dash that they had that kind of solves an issue with, trying to get to an enemy isn't, fun. It's like takes too long, or there's nothing. You just have to like really, it gets really frustrating to approach. But you do that if you had like a super like invincible dash, then you can solve that issue. Players can like, oh boom, I fly to him and hit him in the head. I haven't played Doom the Dark Ages, so this is just kind of an example, a hypothetical example. But I think it's sort of right in a direction. But like if you don't have that to say with them, I kind of be more interested in what the producers have to say with M4. I don't know. Like it'd be interesting to know what went on with M4 as far as like how much was there and how much Retro had added into it. But I mean, you see, like without the design, I think that's the issue is, and also the issue here. It's really amazing to see him talk about the overall like just how many people are in a game where you just don't have you just have a guy working on like one little thing and then one little thing and then one little thing. Like how do you have like a coherent vision when it's just like 500 people doing one little thing and then adding it together? It really is really hard. Does Dave want to be a producer? Heck no, I don't. How's it going? By the way, how's it going? Good old, it's good to see you. Hudson Hornet, good to see you too. It really is hard, especially now with these teams. Like, how do you manage all that? It sounds crazy to make AAA games right now. And then, of course, you have marketing teams that want to do stuff with like visuals and movies. How do you get a coherent vision? I think that's one of the issues you're seeing in a lot of stuff where it's like, it's hard to get everyone on the same page and everything kind of feels a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? Just it feels a little bit samey. It's just there's too much there. There's no like coherent vision, like someone with like a really strong vision of what a game needs to be, putting something out. Fun it really is. It really is difficult. But it's interesting they mentioned PAX, because this was another like well, let's show this first. This is Doug Nepal talking about this game. We were working on Arthur Jim and saw this game at CES and were completely blown away. Visual innovation is largely gone from mass media arts, and I think that's 100% true, because everything just seems to be Unreal Engine 5, but it really does this game looks really, really good nowadays. I mean, I don't know how it plays, but it is really interesting to sort of see how this game looks. You don't see games like this that has that sort of like character. And then this is another video I found interesting that's kind of about game development. This guy's talking about trees.
The game is about a game of trees. You have to have good trees in these kind of games. You stare at the terrain all the time. And
this is talking about World of Warcraft, by the way.
Some of the trees. You'll notice that we have a really wide range of design for trees. We spent many years looking at the trees and studying them, and they're really like the glue that holds everything together.
We were working on one of our earlier zones, and we concepted tree after tree after tree and built tree after tree after tree. And I remember laughing when I realized that we probably had about 50 iterations of this one tree that we just kept refining and trying to get it, as reasonable as possible as far as, poly counts and texture counts. And we went probably through weeks of collective testing on some of those trees over and over again. And then once we had those, it was sort of a framework for the ones to follow.
I was just going to say that, when we got the color studies going, I felt like that was a really key point in development for the environments.
The game is about a game.
It really is cool. I mean, looking at some of these trees that they had, where they had to make it as economical as possible and still look good. I mean, this does look nice. And this is like a low poly tree count. And this is, I think, one of the issues where you have restrictions, confinement, creating innovation, where because there's really no barriers anymore, it also makes it really, you don't see this kind of stuff anymore. This wow trees, like how they managed to do this, visually managed to make this game look, these trees look good while keeping it as economical as possible for, which, I don't understand all this stuff as far as like 3D modeling, but it is really cool to see the work they put into it. And this guy's also, this is part of research for his own gaming project. This is a Gust Wah McKay here, which, I mean, the game he is making looks really nice. I love this sort of style. It really is stylish. So might be an interesting, I mean, I'm not really into racing car games, but this does look good. And this style definitely has a place in gaming. This low poly, it is so fun to see the work that goes into it. Modern A studios making trees to slap some computer generated 3 million try sandwich rendered constantly, GPU murdering UEFI slop into the world environment. Now, this is one of the things where restrictions sort of murder creativity as well, where you don't have these people like putting in that level of effort to make these things as efficient as possible. I think you do lose some character. I think it's one of the things that Unreal Engine 5 I've never liked. Especially these games, you see the environments just look so samey. Like Sonic Frontiers looks exactly like Halo. So it's like, the new Halo in Unreal 5. Like the trees kind of look the same. You just notice it's same, or like the way the light diffuses on it. It just looks the exact same as everything else. It kind of kills it for me. Like especially with Sonic, like Sonic should have its own like trees, Sonic trees. I don't know, like I don't know what it is, but when you look at a 2D version of Sonic, apparently the guy that was talking passed away. He was the original World of Warcraft and then Overwatch art director. Which is sad to see. So like this guy isn't making art anymore, which is definitely a bad thing for the industry. This was another following it up. This is a interesting guy talking about low poly. This is Joey Toro.
Good. It's not just about nostalgia. Sure, it's representative of some of my favorite games from the past, but I've also seen people of all ages that can still gravitate towards this aesthetic. Low poly has a unique restriction of space that makes each vertex and pixel matter so much more. It's all about boiling down a concept into its quintessential form. And even with the ungodly stretched textures that you would see in Ocarina of Time, there was that level of ambiguity which made me so much more curious about the scene. With high-res models, you have the freedom to depict whatever you want verbatim. You can just make the thing exactly as it is in the real world. But there's essentially no room for curiosity about what the subject is, or what's being implied beyond what's explicitly told to you.
And this is also the reason why I liked 16-bit as well. And like some like, even when you look at Echo of Wisdom, how they decided, or even what is the other one? Link's Awakening. That style they went with, which is, kind of like almost claymation looking, where it's, again, not the same. Where they leave stuff up to imagination. It's a lot simpler. And the fact that there is that sort of lower res, not everything is exactly as realistic as possible. I think that there is a level of interest in there, and a unique style too. It gives you sort of freedom to make it your own, like add a unique style to it, where it's not necessarily exactly one for one as in the real world. It definitely, I think, adds to the fantasy. I had problems too. I don't know why. They will never see it. Yeah, it's but yeah, it's amazing
I
to
truly
see.
believe that the absence of limitations is the enemy of creativity. Meaning
Yeah, you
that
kinda saying
when
the same
you can
thing.
make whatever you want, in my opinion, it's just less interesting. Intentionally limiting yourself with low poly can yield results that may change the way you think about the original form. Why is low
Exactly. Just adding a little bit of interpretation, or boiling down to exactly what you need to show, can definitely make some interesting art, visually representation. Let's move on. Ubisoft's Rainbow Six Siege compromised again. So Ubisoft not last week, but the week before. So they're still having issues where hackers access internal tools, saying 6-7 days, harassment bans for players and streamings, global outages across PSC, PS4, Xbox. No Ubisoft official statement on this breach. Rollbacks expected. So this is just a guy going over this Varsity Gaming TV.
I'm not clicking on the reports for... Actually, I can do it now, I guess. So, what was I at before when I launched the game? Oh. Guys, I think this is a targeted thing.
It's apparently targeted.
I don't think they kicked the people out of the servers. Huh.
Some nice text is what it says on top.
Might not be good.
And what do you know that the over thing is that 67676767 of your reports led to sanctions.
We want to let you know that 67676767 of your reports led to sanctions. I got 900 notifications of this all today. Yeah, I'm not clicking on the...
It's pretty crazy. And this is another...
Right now. We'll let you go.
We'll let you go if you meow is what it's saying on
Being
top.
held hostage. Can you bark for me? Yes, you are. Try Q. Realosa. Thank you so much for the gifted. Okay.
It's targeting streamer girls playing Rainbow Six. But here's VX Underground, which does a lot of like hacker type of stuff. Said no Ubisoft was not compromised for the anti-cheat. No Ubisoft was not compromised by rogue agent. No Ubisoft was not compromised as a result of a threat actor infecting an employee with information stealer malware. Ubisoft technically wasn't compromised, hacked in the traditional usage of the word. I can't go into much detail because I don't want to. My kneecap's broken with a baseball bat. But the event we all witnesses was the result of API abuse. In simpler terms, Nerd discovered an exposed API endpoint computer where instructors are sent to and abused the poop out of it. This endpoint received commands for all sorts of stuff, bans, credits, etc. Normally, another programmer sends instructions to this endpoint. Under the normal conditions, this endpoint requires authentication with a key instead of using a username and password, but Nerd sort of found a way to bypass the API key requirement by using the word bypass here. Extremely liberal. What happens was extremely silly. Ubisoft is aware of what's happening. They're not dumb. The fix for the issue they encountered is kind of a pain in the ass to fix. It'll take some time. I'm not surprised Nerd's managed to metaphorically kick in the door abused the API endpoint again. Ubisoft itself was not compromised. No employee data was stolen. No computer data was stolen. Nerds basically beat Siege servers with a stick until it did stuff. So essentially, it's not like a compromise like it was last time. It's just we're abusing API. I assume he's referring to this latest thing, not necessarily the first one, but we'll see. This is another kind of follow-up too, which is kind of sad. Like malware researcher banned on Twitch, banned sites VOD from January 1st, 2001, despite officially going live on just into June 2011. Twitch just seems to really be messing up lately with like the fact that AI is automating so much of this stuff is really sad. And YouTube's got the same issue where AI just bans you for seemingly nothing, and you can't actually get an actual person to look at your stuff. The smoke breakers have automated system incorrectly flagging Asuka as a minor, and Twitch staff failing to do due diligence. Azaka is a time traveler from multiple dimensions. Alternatively, from multiple dimensions that existed as a child in another universe where Twitch went live in 1999. Hence the ban. His ban is spread across the entire Twitch multiverse. Just like the stupidest stuff. Content creation date. Again, even the thing that sends is incorrect. So like, what is going on with Twitch lately? It's crazy to see. And this is the subject. Hey, good morning, Silver Bishop. Good to see you. Or people LARPing. So this is the thing. This is one of the issues. Actually, let's go to the first tweet here. So this is the translation troubles, which is what the thumbnail is about. When people were talking about Syndergaard having translations, a thing where they don't translate it as Christmas, it was annoying. But the Christmas event in Uma Musume game is even worse. Santa Claus himself, which is Ogre Cap, Merry Christmas, and Christmas is said around 5 times at the first scene, but translates as holiday. Ogre Cap gets invited to a year-end party where she remarks about how the holiday season. Again, I want to hear what Ogre is saying. Both of them are talking about Christmas specifically, but the subtitles can't reflect that. I'll post a recording scene later, and like Ogre Cap has her own like Christmas skin, because I mean Christmas is like it's a event. It's not necessarily as religious connotations as it is in America, but the Japanese kind of recognize it as a fun event for the holiday season. Of course, but capitalism. But this translation's insane when you listen to it. We got Santa Claus.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas, Ogre. A joyous day to you.
Santa-san, konnichiwa. Souka. Mou Christmas no chiki.
Again, she says Christmas holiday season. It's just amazing to see them. You can clearly recognize the word Christmas, especially when you're an English speaker, because Christmas is like the only thing you recognize, only word you recognize. Clearly, but Christmas is not in the translation. Again, a merry one instead of Christmas. It's hard to see this as anything but hatred of Christianity by the localizers.
大変なお仕事だと思うが応援しているぞ。さて、オグリキャップさんのクリスマスパーティーへの
Literally says Christmas party, but it's year-end holiday party. Like, what's the point of saying this? Even if you want to be as generous as possible and say, like, all right, Christmas in Japan isn't necessarily a religious holiday, but even in an English-speaking world, it's fairly secular as well, but it doesn't necessarily have these sort of religious connotations in it anymore. Why wouldn't they just say Christmas? It makes zero sense, even in that sense. Because, I mean, tons of places all over the world have Christmas events. Even like in America, you have Christmas stuff, but it's not necessarily, Christ and the Nativity and all that stuff. It's been very secularized itself. So why not just have Christmas? Even if you were going from the direction that, it doesn't have that same kind of, it doesn't, even in America, it's just dumb. Like, I can only see this as the translators don't want any sort of, even tangentially have anything Christian in their translation. We have to remove all secular, it has to be totally secular. Even a little bit of Christ, religiosity must be getting rid of, because it might offend. Let's be honest, the translators themselves are super woke.
Christmas party.
Christmas party, holiday party. It is so sad. A war on Christmas. It's 100% intentional. 100%. It's hard not to hate the translators of that Psy Games are using here. Localizer have truly no respect for art. This is from Rawwell. It's capable of understanding why people will be upset about 2B. They knew for years it's some fan fiction. A random logger pulled out of his ass rather than a faithful translation of the original. You got the champ. Nobody can stand us game journos. Localized. And this is this Rekka Alexia here saying, please stop. There's nothing wrong with the localization for all the people crying, complaining over a nearly 2-year-old game that all of a sudden is beyond exhausting. She's getting upset about this, but what is this about when it comes to 2B? And this is an article from Automaton regarding Nier Automata's 2B, an opinion that the English and Japanese versions have slightly different character portrayals sparks discussion. The English 2B is a little more prickly. And this guy provided pretty good examples, this Jack Guillermo here. So let's see if I can.
Well.
So this is sort of the English version.
Aren't we generous? All this help for no personal gain? I know she's pretty, but...
Whoa. It's not like that. I mean, she is pretty, but it's not...
Whatever.
お人よし。美人だからとはいえ、サービスしすぎ。
そんな...
Actually, can you see this? Can you see the bottom text where she says?
そんなことないですっ
I
て
guess not. I guess you can.
不美人っていうわけじゃなくて
I guess you can understand what you're
どっちで
saying
も
with
い
her.
い。
Whatever.
I think it's more about the feeling behind it than the actual item, right?
Feelings are prohibited.
Yeah.
I think this also might be just
will suffice.
the
For the
actor.
love of... ものというより送る気持ちが重要とか
気持ちとか感情を持つことは禁止されている。
I think there's also like an issue with I think this sort of specific character that 2B is. I think, what is it called? Kundre or whatever? This sort of like emotionless sort of character.
はい。
It's very subtle, and doesn't necessarily translate very well into like America.
はいはい。
She's supposed to be like very quiet, or not necessarily quiet, but like very kind of emotionless.
はい。
はい。I think it's more...
Is that our target?
Negative. This enemy is unrelated. Proposal. Dispatch it as swiftly as possible.
You don't say.
これが目標大型兵器。
否定。当該敵は目標ではない。速やかな排除を推進。
簡単に言う。
It's just, this one's a little bit harder, but I don't know if it necessarily
really
comes
make
off as
children.
softer.
Neither can androids.
I think
now
she
that
does,
think
but I
about
think this also might be a cultural thing.
2B? Little help here?
Huh? You're the chatty one. Work it out.
Oof.
Why do they say oof?
Wow, it's getting late. Let's get you.
それは、いや、機械生命体もアンドロイドも子供は作ることはできなくて。
そんな声で言われても、私は助けられない。
This one actually does seem quite different.
早く行こう。ほら、お姉さん待ってるよ。
Well,
it's hard to say without playing the game. There is a slight difference, but some people are saying it's not a slight difference. The 2B and E sound like completely different people. If you switch from JP to English voice, you'd think she did, but some people definitely think they're very different. But again, I think one of the other issues is that you have just like different cultural like I don't know if it's expectations, but like I don't think like what 2B is, that sort of like Kundre, sort of like emotion, sort of very unemotional character has like an equivalent in American culture. You know, those sort of like trope. It's like a different trope that doesn't necessarily exist in American culture. So like, but at that point, do you just sort of like try to translate it as best as possible in English, or do you make it something on its own? I think people, I think this maybe actually goes back to the point where you don't want to westernize it. You know, Japanese, like wanting to make stuff more mainstream. Like I think most people that consume Japanese like media like this, like especially Nier Automata, which is definitely a very Japanese type of game, they want it just translated as faithfully as possible. Like even if, rather than trying to make it like an American equivalent of, you know, what 2B character is. Like, am I using Kundre right, by the way? This is sort of a dumb thing to cool and dear. Kundre, a Japanese anime character archetype who appears cold and aloof, emotionless, or stoic, but hides a softer, caring, and loving side, often revealed only to their love interest. Yeah, so I am using it right. It even has to be under the Kundre Wikipedia article, so I am using this correctly. Here we go. So this is your Japanese weeb education here portion of this stream. But like, how do you make a Kundre into an American? How do you westernize it? I just don't think it's the same, in English. But I think ultimately people want that type of character. Like they just want make a Kundre in English. Like don't make the sort of English equivalent of a Kundre. That's ultimately what they want in translation. Tragic what you consider she doesn't. I've never played it, so I don't know. It is hard to do on some level, like to translate like 2B's personality to English. There is definitely something there, but I think ultimately, and like what would be the English of it? Would it seem like natural? I don't know. It's hard to say. But I think ultimately people would want that better. Personally, I would just play it with subs. I think that's the ultimate answer, is just play it with subs, just like watching anime. You got to watch it with the subs rather than the dubs. But let's move on. You're not wrong, but it's also the translation kind of forces the portrayal to be different. Oh, that could be true too. The way they translate it could affect the character as well. Play it in both ways. Agree. They're different games in the same show. Okay. Kind of a cop out and say learn the original language. I think ultimately that's, though I think playing with the subs it's too much to ask someone. I kind of get it, but I think ultimately you just there's some stuff that they can't express, like in terms of like the expressions, how they say it, the inflection. Even though I don't understand the actual like words, I think the emotion still comes through in how they say it a lot better in the sub than that does the dub. Uma Musume developer Cygames is coming under fire after announcing their AI-focused studio. So Cygames is opening their own AI studio. In their press release, they describe generative AI as key technology, able to turn accumulated knowledge into the driving force behind the next wave of creativity. So a lot of people are mad about that because, of course, the usual AI haters are out, but also like gacha games are all already kind of more on that slop side. Like we got to constantly churn out content to keep people interested and then charge you money for it. The idea of AI being involved and then like asking for like hundreds of dollars to get my new character when you're cutting even more corners on this kind of a scary thing. It's also funny that the Blue Archive director throwing a little shade at their rival competitor, producer Young Kim says the creative industry is facing an AI slot problem, linking to consumer distrust. Of course, they're going to react negatively. Of course, seemingly in response, a little like subtweeting there of a little shade thrown at Cygames AI Studio. It isn't new, but the fact, and I think this is something that's just going to happen. Where like at this point, devs don't give a shit anymore. They don't want to hide it. If people are going to cry about it, then they're going to cry. They're just like, yeah, we're making AI because I think it's good for investors. A lot of like money guys like seeing the fact that they're using AI. They see it as like something that's going to either you're going to use it or you're going to get left behind. So at this point, they're going to be like, let's be honest. Translators are expensive, glorified chatbots. Seems cheaper until you price in the losing of quality, which true enough. Though I think at some point, there's also the question of would you just prefer an AI translation and then like use your own sort of interpretation of it, or do you want this pink-haired liberal that clearly just wants to translate out Christmas when they're obviously saying Christmas? I mean, it's hard to. I'd recommend the talks on Build Games Better, by the way. I'll have to check that out. Is that like a YouTube video? YouTube videos might be interesting to see, but at this point, but I think that's also like when you look at Cygames, a lot of their stuff is gacha. I assume they're going to use it to make content quicker. Can give you one better insight into how this actually works in the AAA space. Great guests on the show as well. Okay. Kiwi is good, but they really get in the weeds. I see what you're saying. Now you get into deeper stuff. Asus said now, but let's move on. This is like some interesting tech stuff that's happening. Maximize share of value into the grave digging of the economy. Yeah, that's sad to see, but it can definitely happen. Unfortunately, shareholders maximizing fourth quarter profits has been the bane of a lot of games. Asus announced a pair of glasses that act like a gaming monitor. The extended reality glasses support games video playback with a 240 hertz display, and this is Dextro kind of showing it off. Let's take a look at this video that they put out. A little loud. It's like Terminator glasses here. Anchor mode. Sound by Bose. You can plug it into a deck. That seems a really... I wonder why they use such a small cord for this. Use it with your ROG ally. I kind of like this idea. funny enough, like when I saw the Apple Vision, I mean, it was too expensive and probably too large, but I think this technology definitely has potential where you could just sort of slip on glasses and then use that as a monitor where you can like sit anywhere and sort kind of play on a monitor, especially the idea of like linking it up with a handheld like the Switch or a Steam Deck or that kind of stuff. In this case, they have the ROG Ally. Cool idea, especially if you can still have vision of your surroundings. But it is fun to see. So now in the games industry, I haven't worked in over a decade. I don't know what it really means to be a game dev today. Oh, so you used to do it. We're 2021 for QA work. I mean, it's still pretty cool. This kind of thing it's really, I think it's pretty neat if it could work. I think it's probably not quite there yet. Like these glasses are probably pretty heavy, but if they can get it light enough, and then it has potential. I think where the future could be, rather than sort of like a VR glasses, personally. But this is one that was very bizarre. Another technology here that seems pretty creepy. HyperX announces AI headset that reads your brain to boost performance. This sounds like bullshit to be honest, but gaming brand HyperX announced its currently developed headset will use AI to read your brain and boost your gaming performance in collaboration with Neurable. Again, this sounds like total bullshit. So announced during the Computer Electronics Show, well-known gaming brand revealed that it was working with Neurable, a neurotechnology company that specializes in developing AI-powered tools for brain signal translation and computer interface technology, to create a headset that uses AI to read your brain and brain signals and aid your performance in game. So I can play the game with my mind here. We'll use non-invasive neurotechnology, a tool that demonstrates how your brain can enhance player performance, treat your brain signals, and use them to improve your accuracy and reaction time. Business Wires. A preliminary study with semi-professional esports athletes, Neurable's neurofeedback, a prime system, delivered measurable gains in everyday gamers and esports athletes, showing fast reaction times, improved accuracy, and a higher number of targets during FPS training sessions. Interesting. HyperX spoke about new product. We've always been about empowering players with our strategic collaboration with Neurable. We look forward to giving more insight into how one's cognitive skills and focus impact their gameplay, ultimately making them as competitive as possible. I'm not exactly sure how any of this technology works. There's a tech developed that does that, mostly using for prosthetics. Defcom has published sources and understand how it worked. Oh, these are I guess people that have used it, understand how it works. I just don't see how it can. You wear the headset and it somehow reads your brain signals. I also don't know if there's any sort of long-term downsides to this, as far as I don't know what it uses. But to me it sounds a little creepy. Like, we're going to use your brain signal to like help you see, I assume like help aim, like kind of help react to what you're reacting to. You know, it's sort of like millisecond delays between brain signals and reaction time. Reading anybody's mind, to be clear, I see. So it's maybe just again, I don't understand the technique. It's just reading signals like alpha and beta waves. Okay, so it might just sort of like help you react to stuff. I have to look more into this, but I also I don't know if it's just reading signals and not like actually any sort of radiation. It might be all right. This is another thing that I hate this keyboard. To be clear, there's something about longer keyboards with like this. I do like I like a keypad, to be clear, on my keyboards, but one, the gamer LEDs, and this weird sort of steam. Why the weather? I just noticed this, but what's with the weather? You've got the weather report on it, along with like a volume control. And I guess these are just your sort of Stream Deck stuff. Like, it's cloudy outside. It's cloudy outside, but I just don't. It looks so clunky, but I could definitely see it being a thing in the future where everyone has to stream, I guess. Numpad or I riot. Exactly. I need a number pad. I got to type in my numbers. Are good if you're looking at it. I mean, this one is tactile, but I don't know if hopefully the buttons are tactile too, and not just a touchscreen. No room for a cluttered desk. We'll see, but to me, this just seems like it's going to be expensive for no reason. It's a magnetic field. I think it's a typical VC money grab. It is like, is it going to be like the gaming equivalent of like the pumps on shoes? Or it's like the Nike, the old. Who made those shoes? The ones where you pumped it up, like they're gonna make you jump higher. And maybe we'll see. It is hard to see how it makes it better, but what if that's legal? Like, Ches retailer leaks Stream Machine prices. So Stream Machine, we don't know if these are real. Everyone's saying like take this with a grain of salt, but if they are real, I don't know. Those pumps give me Steam retail. So this is $1,000 for 2 terabyte. The 5.12 512 gigabyte is $950, and the 2 terabyte. It's so funny that like the actual memory is so cheap that this doesn't affect any of the prices really. It's like, 2 terabyte, you can get $1,000. And if you want half that, you save $50. That seems a little bit real. So I mean, they don't actually know, but if it is equivalent to these prices, it is pretty expensive. At this point, I would almost rather just make my own PC. And may probably spend a little more, but at the same time, there's so much, because all this AI stuff, there's so much there's just so much going on right now with like the graphics cards, the RAM, how much AI is going to use any of that stuff, that it's really hard to tell what they can make at this price. Obviously, people kind of wanted, I think, something equivalent to what a home console costs, with around that $500, $600 range. But it's probably not going to happen. And if it's at these prices, I don't see how normal, your sort of like casual gamer is going to drop this much on it. But I could be wrong. But it does sound a little high when you could just buy a PS5 or a Xbox. Regardless of the price, yeah. I mean, that's the issue, but I think this was meant for a sort of casual player that didn't want to mess with that stuff, that can't build their own PC, doesn't care about specs, just want something. Ooh, it's cool, it's small, I can put a faceplate on it. I don't think it'll fit a niche of buyers if it's priced. I do think it'll fit a niche if it's priced correctly, and that's the issue. I wonder just how big the audience is going to be for. I want, sort of like a premium product, a premiumly priced product that isn't necessarily as good as a regular PC, but, can play Steam games. Hard to say. Like, I don't think it's going to be, Steam taking on the console market if it's priced at $1,000, but we'll see. Speaking of AI, AI is PlayStation patents an AI assist feature that can take over if you get stuck. Exploring the possibility of letting AI play your games for you, essentially. A patent filed by Sony. AI Ghost can demonstrate how to progress further, or alternatively, take fully control over by AI in order to progress for you. So if you're stuck at this boss, you don't want to beat him, you can just, AI, Sony, take over and beat this boss for me. Patent positions the new AI generation assist as superior to previous examples seen in games previously, invoking one unnamed example that sounds similar to Nintendo Assist feature in some of the 2D platformers. So at this point, PlayStation is going to play the game for you. I also like this. Me playing a Sony exclusive 1 minute later. It's just a guy. This is a note signal. This is funny because even with the AI assist, this is basically Sony exclusives, as you have to watch 20 minutes of cutscenes as the game begins. So it works on two levels, which I think is pretty good. I don't like this, honestly. Just speaking from like an art perspective, like gameplay in games is art, overcoming the sort of challenge. This is one of the things that irritates me, is like it seems like totally disconnected nowadays, like actually playing the game and engaging with mechanics of the game, like learning the game isn't part of the art of the game. It's just, you can just disconnect difficulty totally from the video game itself, and it really just becomes the cutscenes and the story. That's the actual like enjoyment that people get out of it. To me, that's crazy, and it's not a good thing for Sony to be pushing. But it does seem like it's the way so many like casual players want to interact with games. Like they realize that there's a market here for people that don't want to be asked to actually play games, that can sort of like interact and play games, which is a sad thing. It is a sad thing because I think the further games get disconnected from gameplay itself, the worse they become. And this is just sort of a interesting tech news, since Discord has become like the sort of main gaming sort of chat video voice over IP technology that's being used. They've filed for a U.S. IPO. A person said the company is focused on remains on delivering the best possible experience for users and building a strong, sustainable business. So they might be going public, can raise capital, public investors, and have its shares traded on the stock exchange. Of course, the worry is that it's just gonna go to shit at this point. After you get public investors, the focus becomes on making sure the public investors get more, their stocks go up, rather than making the sort of best platform, best user experience possible. It never seems to make stuff better. Getting the money always then becomes a focus on how do I make more money? Like how can we sell people's information? How can we train an AI off this? Now, all sorts of bad things become possible. But not a huge fan of the Discord as a company already. So, I mean, I use it. I think, it works really well as technology, but my personal opinion is I think they tend to be very liberal, and they've, especially when it comes to how they enforce and, shut stuff down. Also, the fact that, I wouldn't go into that, but we could see this could be the end for Discord. I don't know. We'll see. It usually never seems to get better after it does stuff like this. But sad news here is this is from Sega. We're deeply saddened to learn that the passing of David Rosen, one of the founders of Sega and a true pioneer in the video game industry. Sega would like to offer its condolences to family, friends, and acquaintances. We always remember his contributions to our company. He got a little signed by the Sonic team here. None of this would be possible without Periscope. And this is our David Rosen was a guy that helped form Sega. He he had like this Rosen Enterprises. I just read his wiki not that long ago, but basically he helped sort of make Periscope back in the day. He's one of the sort of founding fathers of the arcade. Really, it's pretty amazing. So back when they before sort of arcades became a thing, they had these sort of like amusement centers where had like jukeboxes, slot machines, and it's funny, like some of these game companies, you think you think of them as game companies, but like they do all sorts of stuff like pachinko machines and all sorts of weird like real estate. They're like super. Some of these things are like super diversified. Not necessarily speaking of Sega, but like stuff like Cave and stuff. They do all sorts of crazy stuff. But video games weren't a big thing. But they came out with this thing called Periscope, which is a. Let me see if I can show you a picture here. This was sort of like Periscope from the wiki. And it's like this game where you just shoot out this little like you had like these stuff going in the background, and you shoot out this torpedo to blow stuff up, and it's a very simple video game. Of course, it's back in the day, but it's sort of like a big kind of like a centerpiece stuff that draws attention. But they basically, he was one of the people that also sort of created the first, which the Periscope kind of led to the introduction of 25-cent play in the United States. So one of the sort of founding fathers of the arcade, working with Sega. Rosen Enterprises merged with another company to form Sega Enterprises. So merged with the Nihon Gurabusen and then originated the name as Service Games in Japan, which became Sega, which had slot machines and other stuff, but sort of later became part of the sort of arcade boom. It's pretty crazy, but 95, so led a long life. Very good to see. But lastly, sort of moving into the end here, this is just another. Anytime I see like games done quick, it's embarrassing.
Not Electa, donating $25 to PCF. So brought to a Ogstel Skier Snart. That is trans rights. Let's go off.
Wow, that's you have to clap for that. By the way, you're forced to clap. By the way. It's so awkward, though. It is so awkward. This is from Trigger Point here, and interesting to see the replies to some of this stuff, because it's like one of the issues with like all this stuff is that it becomes the most important thing. So they have a banned games list in GDQ. I didn't know this, but adult ESRB ratings with adults only, which makes sense, and games are prohibited by Twitch. If you're using Twitch, I can understand this, but they some of the stuff like the Harry Potter series or Ion Fury. One of the games called Ion Fury is funny because it has this sort of texture. Ion Fury is the funniest. This is from Jack Birch. It was discovered that a knick-knack item was called O-Gay, spoofing Oil of Olay, so the devs removed it. People complained and the change was reverted. The Tranoids and Chasers running GDQ obviously couldn't stand for the horrible trans and homophobia, so they banned it. So this is one of the things that also, like, same thing with the sort of indie game awards, where the art isn't what's the most important. They don't protect art, they just subvert art at this point, because why not include Harry Potter series? It's because the Harry Potter lady is a transphobic, so you don't actually respect video games as art, because you're clearly there's stuff that's more important that would allow more important that you would disallow these series. I kind of understand Honey Pop. Like, if you wanted to make it family friendly, there's certain games you can't have. it's not a reason to show those off, especially if you're streaming publicly on Twitch. But and this is the texture. This is why you ban an entire game. It's ridiculous. And then for them to claim that they enjoy video games, but this is what every one of these communities, and this is another thing, Behemoth's Eye, just they, she's. When you look at pictures like this, why would any normal person want to go to an event like this? It's so weird and gross. And this is just what so many of these spaces become. This is why you can't have a lot of people that want to sort of ride the line, everybody's welcome type of thing. This can't happen. It can't happen. You cannot have this anymore. If you're going to make a space, you have to make a space specifically that's right wing. That bans this stuff that has nothing to do with this stuff. Because if you don't, then they can make their own space if they want. But if you're making an alternative space, you have to ban people like this from it. You can't have it anywhere near it because they'll eventually just ruin it. It's ridiculous. And finally, some stuff. This was really interesting to see.
Kill on my camp. Oh man, just shot my own guy.
Video games are just always. People think even back in the day when video games weren't as big, there's still elite people playing video games all the time. This is the 99 Spurs ripping StarCraft LAN parties in the hotel before destroying your favorite team.
They can't get into my base, man. Why don't you build some more stuff, Tim? You got plenty of money. Build some more tanks and Goliaths. I don't know this map, but there are about 6 mineral fields, 4 Vespine geysers.
Them on a plane playing it. That's crazy.
Let's do it. Young Guns against the old. This is the odd couple. This is what's dude? You more.
These guys are making millions and millions of dollars too.
You putts. Grumpy old men versus the young guns. Don't be cheating. I'm not cheating.
I love it. This was another thing. This is a national Saturday football, national television. See if you can recognize the music.
He's got a frog stance. Look at that, barely any weight at all on those hands.
Steelers vs. Ravens was a really watched game. Really good too.
That means he goes into the guy in front of him. He's responsible for the gap to the inside, responsible for the gap to the
Being watched by millions and millions of people.
Full frog alert. He has
And this person commenting, this Junie the punny, why the FTF is a Bubble Goomp Swamp from Banjo-Kazooie playing during an NFL game. And the actual composer, Grant Kirkhope, here commenting, so this just happened. Thanks everyone for pinging me. Unbelievable. So he's quite happy to see that his music taking place.
That's right. He's got a frog stance. Look at that.
In I love the being used as background music for a clip in an NFL game. So just more and more video games sort of taking place, even in spots you didn't think they'd happen. Not at the Steelers, just funny. He was playing. It is very out of place. It feels like why would an NFL game be playing video game music? But it is great music too, by the way. So Banjo-Kazooie just had an unbelievable soundtrack, and they're just fun. It's just a fun music. So good for them. Grant, very happy to see it taking place in an NFL game. Actually, one of the most important NFL games of the season too, as both these teams are win or you're in. So it's super hype moment, and then all of a sudden Banjo-Kazooie music starts playing. Finally, we'll end it here. The last video. This is just hilarious. A neighbor broke down an Arc Raider player's door after hearing him shout for help in game, thinking someone was in danger. So, just a reminder. Maybe you This is the subtext. You might not be able to read it. My heart just jumped out of my chest when I saw the door bulge like an explosion was behind it. Let's listen to this. Help!
Y'all good?
I love the timing of this. And then, of course, it cuts off as he kicks the door down. Neighbor Herbie yelling help and alligators playback damage because of the kick. The neighbor happened to be a firefighter. Player gifted him some beers for his trouble. Okay, so this is a firefighter here. So, I mean, he is like a rescue service. It's just like not a normal guy. So he's probably used to like dealing with, people being in trouble. So it's not like, but I love the timing of this. Help! And him knocking. Like, you good, man?
Y'all good?
Y'all good? And then him in response to it, yelling, help me, somebody help me. Just a reminder to talk a little bit softer when you're playing video games. The fact that you're in a apartment complex and people can hear you from outside the door, it's just funny to see this. He's like, I got to break it down. So I guess he's used to breaking down doors too. I guess he gifted some beers. Pretty funny and kind of heartwarming, I guess, helping each other out, even though it's unnecessary. Looks like this happened during Halloween too. You can see the pumpkins on the thing. It's just a funny story to see. But that's going to be it for the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed the stream. And we'll talk to you next week. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank y'all for joining me. So I guess everyone was good, all right in the end. It's just funny. Somebody help me. Someone did come to help him, but in real life. All right, guys. We'll talk to you later.